What's up, guys? Welcome to the Crypto Savvy channel. I am Craig, and we're going to be going over the charts as usual. On Mondays, we go a little bit deeper into the charts. We look at a little bit more. We'll take a look at Ethereum, XRP, and I asked yesterday on Twitter if you guys would like to see other stocks or cryptos on the channel. So every day we're going to add one, and you get to pick by commenting down below. Let me know whether it be a stock, an index, or a crypto, which you would like to see in tomorrow's video. Leave that in the comments below. I'll add that into tomorrow's video, whichever one gets the most people asking for it. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at the pre-markets, and we'll move on into the Dow, the dollar, Bitcoin, then Ethereum, XRP. And at the end of this video, we're going to be looking at the S&P index in the big picture and see what I'm looking for there. So definitely stick around for the whole video. There's going to be a lot of information packed into this. Like I said, on Monday, we go into a little more in depth, and then throughout the week, we'll just do quick updates. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All you have to do is go down, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you smash that thumbs up. That helps get the video out to the masses. I really don't think YouTube calculates truth videos very well. So just make sure you go down, smash those thumbs up, leave your comments, and let's get into it. Share the video if you would also. You belong to any groups or anything like that. So let's look at where we're at. The Dow is up 217 points pre-market. I'm not sure if this video will make it out before the markets open. I will try to get it out to you. Uploads for some reason are taking a long time. Anyways, S&P up 23 points and NASDAQ up 30 points. Let's take a look at the Dow. So as you guys know, this is the chart we've been watching on the Dow for a long time. We figured this was the top here by hitting our RSI here. And whoops, let me get this off here. So what we've been watching now, obviously, is this big falling channel. A break of this falling channel could be extremely bullish. Now, that doesn't mean, we don't have bounces up. As we've talked about many times on this channel, and a lot of people, every little bounce, they think the bear market is over and it's going straight to the moon. It's not going to turn around that fast, guys. So be calm, calm down, be patient. Let's look for major opportunities. There could be huge ones coming if I'm correct about the markets. Now, could it turn around at any given moment? Absolutely. But what we're taking into consideration here is all the data that we find in the charts. As you guys know, if you follow this channel, we have been nailing these markets to the T. So be patient, stick around, watch what I'm talking about, and compare that to your analysis and just get a different view, especially if you're bullish. Just pay attention. So we look at this rising channel here. We have a measured move around 27,000 for the Dow. Now, the bottom of this falling channel here right now, after it opens today, is going to be around 28,400 points. If we do get a bounce, I think it's going to be in here. Now, that's not to say we can't bounce up a little bit today, get up into the 29.2, 29.3 range before coming down. We could bounce for a little while this week, which would hold Bitcoin around where it is. We'll also be taking a look at the points that we need to watch for Bitcoin to see if it's going to turn around and get bullish or if it's going to remain bearish. But as of right now, looking at the Dows, we're on the 28.4 range. If we do break down below that, then we look for our target at 27,000. What'll happen then if we do get down to this level is probably come up to retest this channel, maybe wick above it a little bit before continuing down. But ultimately, this is all looking bearish still. If we zoom out, and what's interesting, if you stick around to the end when we look at the S&P, pretty much doing the same thing, right? I'm not big on watching the S&P. I believe watching the Dow will pretty much tell you what the S&P is going to do. Kind of reacts a lot like Bitcoin to the altcoins, right? A bigger market having influence on the smaller markets. So let's take a look at what's going on. If we do break that 27,000, now I don't believe this will be all in one shot. So everybody out there saying I've been calling doomsday or whatever, guys, opportunity often can be scary if you're not looking at it as an opportunity. But anyways, if we do break that 27, then I'm looking for around the 23. And if this drags out for a while, this bottom trend line right now sits around 20,600-ish. If it was to happen sometime in next year, it could be as high as 21, 22,000. So let's keep an eye on that. But if this bottom trend line breaks, guys, I've showed this chart before. On the right here, we have the Great Depression in 1929. You can see what happened in the markets. And nobody believed this whole time that this was going to happen. So it's not unlikely that people don't believe that can happen. Not saying it's going to happen, but it's definitely a possibility that people need to look out for. I've been talking about this for about 2 years now. I do believe we have made a huge top here, and we've got a lot further down to go. We can also draw a trend line right in here. And that gets our bottom right around that same, around 22,000, somewhere in that range. So if that breaks, obviously we could see something like this. Let me move it over. We like patterns on this channel. No, it's not a fractal. It's a pattern. It's a bubble pop pattern. We've been talking about this for a long time. I'll get to that on the Amazon compared to Bitcoin chart too that we've had since December 2nd. And I'll talk about that. A lot of people are saying it's Elliott wave count. It is not an Elliott wave count, and I'll explain why. But anyways, if this was to happen, what would this be? Sometime in next year, possibly 2024, but most likely next year would be a huge, huge generational buying opportunity for the major traditional markets, a lot of areas in there. And we'll be keeping up on that in this channel to kind of look at what I'm looking to get into if this does play out in this fashion. But as you can see, the pattern, you know, we had a higher high here, lower high, higher high over here, lower high. Same type pattern, guys. Take a look at the dollar. So the dollar, as you guys know, I've been very bullish on the dollar. We're going to look at these trend lines here. You can see the blue trend line. If it was to come down and retest this area, it'd be around 107, 108. But first we have this white trend line and this yellow one right here that we're going to be taking a look at where it comes from when we look at the higher time frames. But as of right now, if the DXY was to dump any further, our next major support is around 109, 109.5, somewhere in that range. If we break down to those levels, we have the 200 EMA also sitting around 110. So if we do get a pull, and guys, everybody's saying that the dollar is falling and dying and whatever, we're going to take a look at that in the bigger picture so you get an idea of stay out of the smaller time frames if you're looking at the bigger picture. But right around 109 is the farthest I see this going. If we zoom in here and look at where we're at on the EMAs, right now we're sitting around the 55 EMA. So 21 EMA is around 112.50. If we get above that 112.50 and get support, then we are on our way to break this high right here. We'll look at the daily and see where that points us. So on the daily, we zoom out, we were watching this rising channel, which we popped up here, came back down, tested, even dipped a little bit below, but now it does seem that we're continuing to the upside. And what we had there was a measured move from where we broke, which was right here. You go from the top of the channel to the bottom, you bring it up to where it broke out, and that gets us our target of 122. That's the next area I see major resistance. We'll probably get another pullback. Everybody will say that was it. That was the top, like they've said all the way up this, right? So I believe we'll get a pullback of some sort in here. And then once we get back above it and retest it for support, we have much, much higher targets. And we'll take a look at that right now. We'll go out to the weekly. And as you can see right here is the weekly. Here's that trend line on the weekly. You can see it had a touch here, a touch here. We got rejected here, came back up and blew through it. That's why I think 109 will hold as support in the worst case scenario, in my opinion. But once we get above this, I think we're going to really, really see some major downside for traditional markets. And then if you guys have been watching, you know my measured move target of this falling wedge right here. Take the measured move, you bring it over to where it broke out. And that gets us to around 178 to 180. Huge, huge bull run. Does that happen in a day? Absolutely not. It could take It could take months. It could take years. As you can see over here, back in the 80s, we had this huge run up. I think we're going to see something very similar to that over here. So just be aware of that. I know a lot of people are expecting the dollar to die. Remember, guys, when the big players are getting people scared out of the dollar with they're printing endless money, the banks are going under, blah, blah, blah. That gets everyone scared of the dollar, right? So they look for other places to put their money. Bitcoin, gold, silver. But if you'll notice, in every crash in the stock market in the past, before Bitcoin especially, everything crashed with it. The gold went down with it. Silver went down with it. The only thing that rose was the DXY. And why is that? Because my theory, all the big money, the smart players get into the dollar while everybody else is scared to get into the dollar. Then once the markets crash, you know, everybody's getting into the dollar all the way down. Let me move this over so you can see everybody's getting into the dollar all the way down. Smart money, right? And then they get back into the markets here. So all the people that have been buying thinking it was going to bounce up here had to wait years and years before they even broke even, right? While the people that waited patiently and got the bottom just made money for years and years while these people were still underwater. So just something to be careful, be cautious. Understanding the markets will help you out tremendously. But anyways, yeah, that's my look on the DXY. I'm extremely bullish on the DXY. If you guys are interested in trading before we get into Bitcoin, definitely check out Prime XBT. I have a link down below in the video. Definitely my favorite exchange. They don't trade against you, that you don't see all the scam wicks. You could trade cryptos, indices, forex, commodities, all on one exchange. You can have multiple trades in. They don't clump them all together. Definitely check them out. And you can use my promo code SAVVY50. That'll get you up to a $7,000 bonus to add to your margin. SAVVY25 will get you 25% off your fees. I also have a tutorial on it on my YouTube page, so definitely go check it out. All right, the daily on Bitcoin. We'll also look at the bigger picture in the weekly and stuff next. But first, I want to start you out on the daily. Then we'll go into the 4 hour. Then we'll go into the longer time frame to get you a big picture of the whole market, right? So looking at this as a descending wedge, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves in the descending wedge. This could be bullish. This could be a big A. And then eventually we get a B, maybe sometime next year. And we'll take a look at what that might look like in the bigger chart, right? But once we get a bottom here, come back up and break, I do think it's a good possibility that we don't see the bottom until the middle or end of next year. And I'll explain that in the next chart. But if it plays out on here, we could see the bottom possibly 3,500-ish at the end of this year, if it's a huge capitulation. If that's the case, then we may have bottomed right there. But we'll be taking a look. We'll be keeping an eye on all this stuff. As you can see in the RSI, the same trend lines were playing out perfectly. I do expect a retest to the bottom of this trend line. And guys, this is not on the log chart. I seen somebody talking about I was doing this on the log. Absolutely not. So this is, let me get these 5 waves out of here, right? Take a look at this a little bit closer, and then we'll go into the 4 hour. All right, so what do we do here on this descending triangle that we have here? Well, we take a measured move from the widest point of the triangle to if it was to break. And right now it's around 18,215, right in that range, say 18,200. If we break that, obviously our next support that people are going to count on is 17.5. I've talked about it many, many times since we hit 17.5. The next time we test it, I don't think it'll hold. If we do get a bounce, I think it'll be short-lived and we crash right through it. Then we have our targets at 14.5 to 15.5. Get the RSI off there. Right down here. So let's take a look at the 4 hour. And then I'll tell you why I get the 14.5 and where I get it here in a little bit when we zoom into the bigger, or zoom out to the bigger time frames. Well, let's take a look. This is my video from, or all these targets are my video from Friday. We talked about 19.5. I told you guys to watch for that for major rejection because it is the center of this rising channel here. What happened? We got rejected there. We're currently below all the EMAs. We had a 4 hour EMA sell signal over here on that was yesterday. Was it yesterday when all the EMAs crossed right here? The next candle, the second. Today is the 3rd. So yeah, it was yesterday. I did put that out in a tweet, that sell signal here. We are getting rejected at all these EMAs, so chances are we do continue to the downside. If not, now we move this up to the center, and this would be, if we get a pump, this would be where I would expect to get rejected around the 19.7. Where do we have to break for this to start getting bullish on the daily? Well, we're looking at this white trend line, which is the top of the falling wedge. And if we put it over here, if we were to get to that sometime today or tomorrow, we would be looking at around 20,100 to 20,200. Now, a break of this and a continuation to the upside, then our next, we would have to break this to get bullish. And anyway, for me, around 20,700. We break that, then we can start looking at bullish targets, right? And what would the bullish target be if we broke that 20,700, say sometime this week or next week? That would get us as high as right here around 22.5. But I believe we're most likely going to break to the downside. If we take the measured move of this blue rising channel here, we bring it down to the bottom, and that gets us right at approximately, if it was to happen today, obviously this would go up if it was tomorrow, right around 17,000. Excuse me, guys. Right around 17,000 would be the target there. But remember, we have our support at 18.2. That has to break first. And then, of course, our old low at 17.5. Once that breaks, look for 17, may get a bounce back up, possibly all the way back to the 18.2 before continuation to the downside. Nevertheless, let's go into the weekly. So looking at the weekly, as you guys know, we had a measured move of this rising channel. We called this exact right there, that bottom at 24 or 25.4. And then we created this little bear flag. Once that broke, we called this way up here. We called this 17.6. And what do you know? We smoked it. And then we made another rising broadening wedge. What is the, let me zoom in so you guys can see this. What is the measured move target of that? Well, we take a measured move of where it broke, we bring it down, that gets us at 14.5. That's why I look for the 14.5 to 15.5 range. Where's the weekly major resistance right now? Right here about 19.7, which also matched up with that daily, right? And that's this high volume node right here, which we are getting rejected on now. We also got rejected on the 8 EMA on the weekly. That's pretty bearish. So what happens if this is another bear flag and we use that same flagpole, bring it down? That gets us about the 85. So 75 to 8,500. I've been talking about a possibility for a false bottom by the end of this year, rally into next year, get everyone bullish again, and then continue down to our 3,500 target. Definitely a possibility, something to keep in mind. Let me also show you one more thing here. So if we look at the big picture here, remember this is the weekly chart. We had this trend line here off of all these wicks on the bottom, right? If we take a measured move of that, this is how we would do that. We would take from the break of that trend line, right? Actually, I already have it in there. So the break of that trend line, we look at that as a big flagpole, right? All the way to the bottom. And this being a flag of this big flagpole, a bear flag there. And what does that get us down to? About the $38,000 to $4,000 range. So there's a lot of confluence down in them areas, guys. And it doesn't mean we're going to have to hit that this year. Although it's possible, I still think that unless we hit that this year, that we're going to get a big rally to get everyone bullish. It's going to look huge, maybe to 14,000 after the 75 to 85,000. Maybe to 14 to 16, get 100% rally, making it look huge, getting everyone bullish again before continuing down the middle or end of next year to our ultimate low. And here is why I say that. We created this on December 2nd. I also made a video. You can check it out on my channel. I told you everybody would be talking about it in the future, and they were. So anyways, we did the time frames on these, right? Each top was around the same time, and both of these are weekly charts, guys. It's not like I'm, playing with a daily against a weekly or whatever. And everyone says that crypto plays out a lot faster than traditionals. No, it doesn't. This is Amazon back in the .com bubble, where you had to wash out all the .com scams, and we are now in the Bitcoin bubble. I think we have to wipe out all the altcoin scams, right? And until this chart is invalidated, it's valid, right? How would it invalidate? Well, it would have to break this 55 EMA. And right now, currently, is about 30,100. And that goes lower as time goes on. Remember, this is a weekly chart. This takes time. One more thing I want to point out in here. Well, this is where people are talking about this is an Elliott wave. This is not an Elliott wave. These are just 5 waves I put in on a bubble pop pattern. If it was an Elliott wave, this would have to be 5 waves, could not be a correction and then a continuation up. 5 waves would be the impulse, right? And that would mean there was more downside. This is not an Elliott wave count. This is a bubble pop pattern. I've showed it in Sony, Nintendo, and some other ones, right? This is how it works. So you got this big rally. You got your first dump from the top after breaking the old high, just like in Bitcoin. And then you got a big dump here. Everyone got extremely bearish. You got this little rally, but it seemed big at the time, like they usually do. And I told everybody, just like what happened over here, we will get a rally. Everyone will get bullish again, only to make lower lows, right? Just like what happened here. And then you get a rally, tiny rally. Everyone gets bullish again. Doesn't sell, only to make a lower low, all the way down. And you can go back in videos from a year back, and I talked about how bubbles pop, and that's how they happen. And it ends up getting you so stuck and in such a big loss, you're scared to sell because what if it goes up, right? Unfortunately, that's how markets work, and most people have to learn the hard way. A lot of people in the crypto space don't know traditional markets, so they are blinded looking only at the Bitcoin chart, when in reality, traditional markets have total control over the Bitcoin chart because Bitcoin is a speculative asset. That is the first thing people get out of when markets crash, right? So looking at the RSI on the weekly here, I've talked about this. This is where I believe if we get the false bottom, it'll be the break of this weekly, because everyone will get super bullish when a weekly trend line breaks, just like back here. It broke, came up to retest it at a lower low. If we see the same thing over here, right? Once we break this weekly trend line, that's going to be confirmation of the false bottom for me. And then I'll be looking for more downside after possibly 100%, maybe even 150% rally. So would it be a good time to get in here? Absolutely. If it plays out like this. So say towards the end of this year, we get to 75 to 8,500 and it starts bouncing good. Get in, ride that for a while, and then just follow it with stops. So you don't just put your stops in profit, right? So if you get in at 75, 8,500, it gets up to 10,000, breaks 10,000, move your stops up to 10,000. If it comes back down and drops you out, you made money, right? It's all about protecting capital. And then if it does get to this lower low, then if you believe that Bitcoin is going to succeed, get in, go with all your money, whatever you want to do. This is not financial advice. I'm just kind of putting that out there that if you feel like Bitcoin is it and it's going to go to the moon, that would be the time to get in. Although I've showed you guys many times, and let me find it. Go right here. This is usually after bubbles pop. It takes many years to come back up. So you'll have all this time to get back in, maybe a year, maybe 2 years down here to form a real bottom. But then even after, this is why I think everyone will think this is the 4-year cycle. The halving is going to make it go to new all-time highs again by 2024 or 25. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think it'll run up, right? And then continue back down. But I think it'll be probably a good 10 years from the high. So maybe 2030, maybe 2031 before we actually break that all-time high. If it even breaks it then. Remember, I showed you other bubble pop patterns that had the same formation, but they've been 15 and 20 years and still haven't reached the all-time high. Just something to be cautious about, guys. Be careful out there believing that anyone that's telling you Bitcoin is guaranteed to go up is absolutely irresponsible. Nothing in any market is guaranteed. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm saying that just most of them people saying that are only in Bitcoin. They only look at the Bitcoin chart, the 4-year cycle. They're convinced. Well, and I've heard people say the 4-year cycle is still playing out. It's, nothing's changed. Well, in every other past cycle, Bitcoin never came back down past its old all-time high, right? It obviously has now. We're actually still below the last cycle's all-time high as of right now. So something to keep in mind. And let's get into, here's the weekly, right? Here's the old all-time high back here at 20,000, just under 20,000. We're still below that right now. So looking at the monthly, I talked about a close below this monthly trend line, which we got. It's bearish, guys. Bearish, bearish, bearish. Right now, where is the monthly resistance? Well, right now, the monthly resistance lies around 24,000, possibly a little bit below. But if it did take, I think it would take a couple months to get up there if it was to happen. So right there is our monthly resistance, 23.8, we'll say, right? All right, Ethereum. Nothing's changed. This chart is about a year old, guys. These targets, and we had this rising wedge here. We just took a measured move of that. That got us down to this 1919 target. I said once we broke 1919, it would become resistance. We got a couple wicks above it, but nevertheless stayed resistance. And now our next target, well, from this bear flag right here, we made this target of $300. Definitely a possibility. And that's using this as a bear flag, right? Bring it down to where it broke. That gets us $300. Not saying it's going to happen. Definitely a possibility. I do think most definitely we'll see the $700 though. If you look at what's going on right now, we're going to zoom in and kind of throw a new target in here. Look at this trend line break right here. Bring it down to the bottom. Looking at this as a bear flag, which broke. That gets us down to approximately $930. So I do believe no matter what, 1,000 is going to break. We could go much, much lower. I also have a much, much lower target than 300, but we'll talk about that if the traditionals actually do what I think they may be doing, right? XRP. This chart is also a year old. If you were around back here, you know I called this, we called this first at 58 cents way up here, right? You can go back, check my channel. But anyways, then we called this low here to come down and retest this trend line, which it did. It got a bounce. Everyone's getting extremely bullish again. But we do have a measured move target of this triangle right here that I still think we're headed down to around 17. But first, we have to break this 31 again, right? Once we break this 31 again, I think we have a major continuation down. We were expecting a rejection up here at around the 58. Didn't quite get there. Not out of the question that we can't still get up here, get everyone bullish again before coming down. But nevertheless, I don't see us getting past this 58. If we do, that may change my view on it. But again, this chart's a year old. Nothing's really changed. And guys, I've talked about this before. I came from penny stocks is where I started out, right, years ago. And this, to me, looks like a huge dying penny stock. We've talked about this many times. Where would this... It would have to break this big, massive trend line here to even make me think that it's not a dying asset, right? 122, right? That's where I would start to reconsider this being a dying asset, right? Gold, another chart, has been a year old. We've talked about this for some time. 1561 is my target for gold. As of right now, it's getting rejected on the 21 EMA. And all that was the measured move of this right here from where we broke gets us to 1561. Another thing I want to show you guys, I have a lower target around 1433. And obviously, guys, I can go much lower than that also, but all depending on what the crypto market does, right? Let's put this on here and I'll show you how I got these targets. So we take our Fibonacci, right? We put it up from this top here. We bring it down to this low, bring it back up to this high, and this almost lines up. The 1.272 is right about 1568. So we have 1561, pretty close. And then the 1.618 is around 1433 if this 1561 breaks. But let's take a look at where we're at on them fibs now. We broke this 1-to-1 extension right here. And now that is our resistance, 1676. Our next level of support is going to be that 1568, 1561 level. We could bounce all the way from there and come back up and retest this again, get everyone bullish again. Again, that's how bear markets work. But nevertheless, I'm still looking for this 1561. Like I said, we've had this chart for a year. That's what I'm looking at. Silver. Same thing with silver, guys. This chart is a year old. We took our measured move of the break of this descending or ascending triangle, which broke to the downside around 1550. Still looking for that. I had told you once the 20,000 broke, or I'm sorry, $20 broke, that would become resistance, and which it has. It's trying to rally up a little bit right now, but I don't see this going too far. Let me throw the RSI on there. Yeah, may get a little rally up, retest this top. Let me put this on there. Nevertheless, still bullish on silver. I know a lot of people are silver lovers, just like you have gold lovers and Bitcoin lovers, but nothing bullish here. Still looking for this 1550 target at least. Could go much, much lower. We'll talk about that at a later time. S&P. So this is my S&P chart. Just looking at the big picture, right? I've thrown my fib retracement on here from this low over here, and the 0.786 also lines up with this bottom trend line. If we were to get down there sometime in the beginning, first to second quarter of next year, remember, now that doesn't mean we can't have bounces, but guys, let's zoom in here and look at where our major resistance is now. We're going to use that fib for our major resistance level, and that's around 36 to 3,700. We did go up and retested that fib, and we got rejected right here Friday. So let's see if we get back up, retest this area, which will also line up with the 8 EMA. But again, guys, it doesn't mean it can't bounce all the way back up here. Nevertheless, it's bearish, extremely bearish. No other way to tell you that. In the long term, that doesn't mean there won't be bounces, guys. There's always bounces in markets. People are trading it. That's how you make money. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you smash that thumbs up. It's right down below me. Just click the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do daily updates. I also do members videos once in a while. I'm going to start doing those. And the reason I do the members video, as you guys know, I'm against people selling courses and crap like that because it's all garbage. If they were any good, they wouldn't sell them. But I think it's $3 or $4 a month, whatever, for the membership. And like I said, there's times I don't do them. Just life's busy, right? But it's $3 or $4. It's not like I'm making a killing, but it does pay for the little bit of time when I do spend time on them. And we'll go into more detail, and it keeps the trolls out. We do them live, and you can, we'll look at whatever charts people want to look at, talk a little bit about risk management, kind of go over EMAs, kind of go over other stuff. But I will be starting that up possibly this week, starting to get back into that, doing one, maybe two a week. But anyways, if you guys are interested, that membership's down below. So thanks again for watching, guys. Don't forget to smash the likes, leave a comment, let me know what you think. What chart would you like to see in tomorrow's video? Take it easy, guys. I'm out.